Mine says we're streaming it, Wade.
Yeah, I don't know why it always says that, but now we are. Okay.
Okay, great. All right, well, let's call our meeting to order. It is 7:07. This is a special meeting of the Poolesville Town Commissioners. And Ed, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
Sure, absolutely. Sure. All right, here we go. I pledge allegiance
to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So this evening we're starting with our HR consultant presentations, and it looks like we have two consultants joining us this evening to present. Is that correct, Wade?
That is correct.
So who are we starting with this evening?
So we'll be starting with MMC Consulting out
Okay.
of Upper Marlboro, and we have three folks that are going to let in right now.
Great. And are we going to try to keep to certain time constraints for both?
15 minutes is what I've allotted them.
Great, thank you. Hi there, this is Carrie Cook. Thanks for joining us.
Santisha.
Hi, thanks for joining us this evening. You're joined by all five of our town commissioners, myself, Carrie Cook, Ed Reed, Jim Brown, Martin Radigan, and Jeff Eck, as well as our acting town manager, Wade Yost, and our town attorney, Jay Gullo. Thanks for joining us, and please take it away and go ahead and present to us.
Thank you for having us. We should have Jennifer Hanks and Richard Hanks on the line as well.
Okay.
I think they are also waiting, but it's nice to virtually meet all of you.
They're there.
Yes. Oh, I see everyone. Yep.
Richard there.
Yes, everybody's here.
Yep, we're here with you guys now. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you, and good evening.
Good evening.
Do we have the ability to share our screen?
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you.
We see it, or I see
Okay.
it. Yep.
Perfect. All right. Good evening and buenas noches. I'm Jennifer Hanks, the Chief Executive Officer of MMC Consulting. I'd like to begin by saying thank you to Mr. Wade Yost and the Commission for the invitation to present our capabilities to you this evening. While Richard and I are celebrating our 5-year wedding anniversary in Mexico, we look forward to returning home for the opportunity to serve the town of Poolesville. I would like to now turn it over to Richard Hanks, our Chief Operating Officer, to begin the presentation.
Good evening. As Jennifer stated, I am Richard Hanks, the Chief Operating Officer for MMC Consulting, and we are thankful that you allowed us to participate in this next level of the selection process. Hopefully, we can reinforce your initial assessment and provide you with enough compelling information to sway your decision in our direction. So you've already met two members of our core team, our CEO and my lovely wife, Jennifer Hanks, who will provide critical insight to all of our engagements, as well as myself, Richard Hanks, and I will serve as your project manager for this one. I will be the town of Poolesville's contact for operational and contractual concerns. However, the final and most important member of our team is Antisha Waller. Antisha will serve as your subject matter expert and primary care provider. She has over a decade of HR leadership experience in management roles at several levels of municipal government. Antisha will lead the engagement, be your primary contact for technical questions, the engagement deliverables, and be here to address your ad hoc needs as necessary to ensure we deliver the superior level of performance and service that TOP desires and deserves. So what are some of the benefits we think we provide to the town of Poolesville? Well, we know that every organization that you engage with during this process will tout why they are the best option for your HR requirements. Team MMC is no different. But more important than making declarations, we hope that our response to solicitation has set the stage for this presentation and put together with the information we will provide today will help you determine that we are best suited for this opportunity. MMC is a boutique management consulting firm with knowledgeable experts that deliver high quality service in a dynamic environment. Over the course of this engagement, we will engage with Poolesville leadership in a collaborative way to create the best solutions possible for your mission critical needs. And how do we do that? Well, when Jennifer founded the company in 2017, we started with the belief, or she, now we, that we could help small business and government clients work together to create the best possible outcomes for their communities while protecting the resources of their taxpayers. To achieve this, we work on the principles of 4 E's: respectful and client engagement, and manage through our empowerment of their opportunities with results-oriented execution will yield excellence in both client outcomes and their satisfaction. As we began our company, we realized that human capital development and management would be critical to our success, as well as the success of our clients. This led us to the relationship would make the change. It started with a question. There was an HR challenge that had me stumped. And Tisha, or Tisha as I call her, and I have known each other for quite a few years. Knowing her background in HR management, I reached out to get clarification. Well, not only did she answer that question, but a few more that I hadn't asked. At this point, Jennifer and I both knew that she was someone we wanted on our team. Since then, she's been working with us to expand our HR platform, as well as develop the HR programming for a small business accelerator we are launching next year. With that, I will hand the presentation over to Tisha.
Thank you, Richard. So what is our approach? We propose primarily through virtual phone and email communication, applying a dual method approach using SHRM's 6-step method for process analysis, followed by the AIM method at the implementation phase. Step 1 would include conducting market research of neighboring municipalities, then comparing those research to the town of Poolesville's practices. Top employees or town of Poolesville employees will be contacted for suggestions on process improvements and critical needs areas to promote employee buy-in for any changes or improvements made during implementation. In step 2, using organizational charts and job descriptions, MMC would identify who is responsible for salary and budget decisions, employee incentives, and purchasing supplies to identify gaps within the budget and opportunities to better utilize available resources. A technology assessment would be conducted in step 3 to determine if there are additional technological needs for the town of Poolesville to function more efficiently. A thorough SWOT analysis will be completed and emailed to the town of Poolesville's leadership with any recommendations for improvement to the email, internet, and/or human resource information systems. In step 4, to assess the functionality of the HR department, MMC would meet with town of Poolesville leadership to identify current HR staffing responsibilities and determine if the unit is properly aligned. Team MMC would also conduct a training assessment using employee surveys, discussions with supervisors, and reviewing training records and personnel files. In step 5, MMC would include using employee feedback to create short and long-term goals for the HR unit. It is in this step when MMC would organize and facilitate meetings with the town of Poolesville leadership team for the HR unit and begin to initiate goal setting and change management discussions. In the last and final stage, MMC and the town of Poolesville's leadership will review all assessment findings and recommendations. A budget assessment will be completed in this phase using information and personnel identified in step 2 to determine financial capital available to proceed with agreed upon changes. This step also includes the AIM, where we create a plan for the recommended changes, strategically implement that plan, then monitor outcomes to identify any adjustments needed and to evaluate success. Now, for the administrative staffing review, MMC will use ONET to conduct a job analysis of administrative staff, then provide a gap analysis and training assessment using HR records, staff interviews, surveys, and job observations. To assist the town of Poolesville in its town manager recruitment, MMC would use Checker for pre-employment background checks. And through knowledge of municipal requirements, candidate qualifications, and the town of Poolesville need, make a recommendation for the top candidate. Finally, MMC would conduct a review and assessment of the town of Poolesville's current HR practices. This would include reviewing the town of Poolesville current handbook and making recommendations for improvement, a review of the town of Poolesville's compensation and benefits package with recommendations for improvements, assessing the performance review process, evaluating the town of Poolesville's compliance with relevant HR laws and regulations, and supporting and training development needs in the areas of employee discipline, effective leadership skills, and managing workplace conflict. Team MMC plans to move forward with the timeline provided in our proposal. However, we will remain flexible in consideration of the town of Poolesville's needs. With all of that said, MMC brings to the table a secret sauce, which is our recipe for success. It requires 1 pound of process and methodology, which I've just explained in our approach, 2 pounds of key personnel mix, as described by Richard, 1 cup each of integrity, collaboration, and excellent customer service, all ensuring that MMC and the town of Poolsville remain successful throughout this project. At this time, I'd like to give the floor back to Richard to explain our past performances and our proposed fee structure.
Thank you, Antisha. In addition to serving in a supervisory role with the Housing Opportunity Commission of Montgomery County, our team has worked on both the federal and local level with HR clients. With the city of Moss Point, we introduced the executive time management system and transitioned from a paper time tracking method to electronic time management, where we increased payroll accuracy and reduced errors by over 60%. Working with the city of Austin, we helped them develop an internal workman compensation form that was an improvement over the existing form that improved both compliance and also reduced reporting delays by 70%, while improving the relationship with the agency's third-party administrator. Another area that we like to highlight is the relationship that we've had with the Coast Guard, which is an ongoing leadership and human resource development training program designed to help their senior leaders improve their personnel management and engagement skills with lower level staff. We also have a continued engagement with USAID, the Internet Agency for International Development, where we are creating impactful training opportunities for the agency's 11,000 team members in the US and abroad. There we are developing both public and private partnerships which enhance the learning ecosystem, as well as employee participation in learning opportunities, including one training session that had over 1,400 members participate. So while talking about money is often a sensitive subject, it is also an important one for every proposal. When creating the pricing structure for this opportunity, we wanted to give you options. The first option was time and material. Under this, we would engage with TOP as required to meet your needs and bill based on the actual hours worked. The other structure we offered was a monthly retainer. This structure would reduce the need to watch the clock and instead allow for a more flexible engagement where we were available to address your question and concern based on a preset number of hours that we felt was appropriate to deliver the level of performance based on the scope of work. However, we're not married to either of these structures and are very open to having a discussion on what will be the best way of engaging on the pricing that work for everyone involved. In closing, we'd like to thank you for this opportunity and look forward to supporting the town of Poolsville as it provides enhanced service to its community. We would like to use any remaining time we have to answer your questions and to ask a few of our own.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'll open it up if anyone has any questions for these folks joining us tonight.
Hi, this is Jeff Eck.
Hey, Jeff.
And I'm not sure exactly who to address this to, and maybe it's not so much a question as an observation. I liked when you said that you were going to review the current handbook, because we do have, and I also take it to understand that TOP means Town of Poolsville, so it took me a while to catch on.
You're the top.
It took me a minute to catch on to that. Yeah. Anyway, nice abbreviation. So anyway, I like the idea that you were going to review the current handbook, which we actually do have. We do have a current handbook, and I think it does require some rather careful review to see. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, right? But I'm hoping that you're going to tell me when you elaborate perhaps a little bit on that statement there, that you're going to try and figure out what parts of the handbook are useful, what parts need some serious adjustment, and what parts are just missing.
Yeah, so I mean, this is Tisha. I'll speak to that unless Jennifer, you wanted to.
I will leave it to you, Tisha.
Okay, so yes, so my understanding is that what you all are looking for is someone to do a first page to final page review of the employee handbook that you all have. That is something that I'm very capable of doing. I've done that before. I've also authored handbooks in the past. So yes, so what my interpretation of that is that what we'll do is we'll come in, we'll look at your handbook, we'll determine what's outdated, what's current, what needs to be updated. If it's compliant or non-compliant with any current regulations, any HR rules, anything that is new and relevant. So there'll be a total complete assessment of your HR handbook or your employee handbook to determine, where the needs are, where the gaps are for us to get in there. And if we need to make revisions to that, we are also capable of doing that as well. Of course, probably in ongoing discussions, we'd be able to find out a little bit more about those specific needs. But yes, for that purpose, full front page to the very last page review and reassessment of your employee handbook to make sure that you have something that is compliant, something that's relevant, and something that works.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, Tisha, maybe a little bit of what Commissioner Eck is getting at is maybe to carry on the baking metaphor that you used a minute ago with here at TOP, you're going to be kind of starting from scratch. And I guess I'm wondering how comfortable you'll be with that.
So I can give you an example. So I work for the city of Moss Point. At the city of Moss Point, their employee handbook was about 22 years old when I came, and when I started working there back in 2014, I think it was. So 22 years ago from, about 7 or 8 years ago, very, very outdated. And so what I had to do was go in there, look at that handbook and determine all of the things from, 22 years past to current, what was no longer relevant, what needs to be changed, what was at this point illegal, what was unethical or considered to be unethical, all of those things. And I rewrote that handbook for them. If you were to look at a copy of that handbook, it does have, authored by Antisha Wally, because that is, what I did. We were able to have that completed, and it was a couple hundred pages maybe, but we were able to have that completed within about 2.5 months of me coming on board. So I would be very, very comfortable doing that. I've done that in the past, and I have no problem doing so again.
And this is Jeff again. Sorry, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but do you have experience? I see you have government experience, which is great, but do you have experience with the state of Maryland at all? Because we're in the state of Maryland, in the county of Montgomery County, Maryland.
Not with employee handbook revisions. So I'm just now getting familiar with the with the laws and the regulations for the state of Maryland, having worked with MMC.
Yep. She's been managing our human resource development over the past almost 6 months now. As we've set up our company, in addition to, we are building a platform that will be based out of Maryland, but working in both Texas, California, and New York and Georgia, where we're going to be doing a small business incubator or accelerator where we help businesses grow. And as part of that platform, we're developing HR systems for each of those states so that the companies that we work with will have the necessary requirements to grow. I think kind of from the initial statement that you asked, Jeff, we really look at this assignment as with the scope of work as a basis for our engagement. And as things come up and you guys need additional resources or need additional things done, we're going to be there for you as your partner. One of the great things about having it as time and material, it gives us the flexibility that as you add things to the scope, we can address it. If we do go with something more like a retainer, then we'll just say, hey, within the scope of hours that we have planned, here are the things that we're looking at doing. And if we add more things, then we can adjust the contract as necessary. But most importantly, we want to make sure you get the things that you need out of this engagement and not be held to what was initially proposed. Because we know as things come up, things are going to change. And you're going to say, oh, you know what? We didn't know we needed this. And here's something that we think that you should provide. Or as we're going through the process with you, we'll say, here are some other things maybe you want to consider. And whether or not you decide to take them on is up to you. But we're there to provide, to address those concerns for you.
Well, thank you, because at least speaking for myself, I don't know what I don't know. So I don't know exactly how big the, is it a little anthill or is it a bigger hill? So thanks for that. And my understanding is that Miss Wally we pick up the phone, we talk to Miss Wally. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And that does not mean that we're not available or accessible, but your subject matter expert is going to be Antisha. And we're happy to provide support as needed.
Monthly team meetings.
Right. If you want to engage with us on a monthly basis as a team, we're very flexible. We really want to make sure that we provide you with that, understanding that you say you're starting from scratch. We want to make sure that we're available to make you feel comfortable through this process and provide you an experience where you're saying, anytime we have a question, they're there to help us. They're kind of holding our hand through this process, and we're getting things done in a timely manner. And so Tisha will be your point of contact to make sure all of that happens, and she'll coordinate with us accordingly.
and we're in PG County. I used to work in Montgomery County for the Housing Opportunity Commission. And so we're available if you need someone to come up as part of a in-person review or interviews and what have you. Both myself and Jennifer, assuming we can coordinate, we're 24-hour to 48-hour notice. We can probably, except for the summer right now, since we're kind of sequestered in Mississippi for the next 5 weeks or so. But you probably, if you give us 3 days, we can get on a plane and come up and see you guys and figure out how to make some things happen as far as that's concerned. But whenever you need us, if you need us, we're here. And what I like to have is monthly meetings, even if they're only for half an hour to an hour. That allows us to engage with the client and see kind of how things are going, where are some areas where we can improve, and what are some of the things that we're doing well so we can keep them as best practices.
Well, like I say, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but I have one last question because I was writing notes as quick as you could speak. And that's about the review of the compensation plans. So do you do some kind of evaluation with similar municipalities? And if we have similar services with other municipalities, whether it be in Maryland or some neighboring state, to figure out what the correct compensation is for the employees?
Yes, so I'll speak to that as well. So yes, and I can tell you also at the city of Moss Point, I work with neighboring cities and neighboring counties to do just that. I actually rewrote their compensation plan as well. And so what goes into that is I contact those neighboring cities and those neighboring counties because sometimes the county, government are very close in, positions and responsibilities as well. We collected insurance information, benefits information, and salary information. We also did an assessment of different job descriptions and job duties because, at one place, there may be one job description and it's doing the exact same thing as someone in another, municipality with a different job description. So we did a total assessment there. We were able to determine there were some gaps within that city's compensation structure, City of Moss Point, and we were able to compensate, employees fairly, more fairly from that. Again, it had been about 20 years since that had been reviewed. The handbook was about 22 years. The compensation and benefits package was about 20 years with a little bit of updates here and there. So I would do the exact same thing for the town of Poolesville. What that would look like is if I wouldn't have enough information to get from neighboring cities and neighboring counties, I may go outside of the state. But because some of the state laws and requirements are a little bit different, that sometimes can make it a little bit more difficult and more challenging because you wouldn't necessarily be comparing apples to apples. It'll be a little bit of apples to oranges. But yes, absolutely. That would be considered a market study. So we would conduct a market study to ensure that your compensation plan is fairly and adequately assessed for those improvements.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone have any other questions?
No, I don't have any other questions. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for sharing and presenting to us.
Thank you. We definitely appreciate it.
If we could have maybe one more minute, hopefully it's in the schedule. There's a couple of questions we'd like to ask you guys just to get a better sense of kind of what the engagement would entail. One of the things that came to mind when we thought about this is that in 3 years, what would you want the employees to say about their experience working for the town of Poolesville based upon some of the improvements we help you guys to implement?
That is a fantastic question. And I don't have an answer. I mean, I could make up an answer, right? Because I'm retired now, but I worked for 100 million years before I retired. And I do remember that the CEO, well, I don't know if it was the CEO or not, but he always said that he wanted the employees to be delighted. That was a word that he always used. And I have to say that for the most part, I was delighted. So, but it's hard to put your finger on exactly why I was delighted, right? That's rather nebulous. But of course, we want the town employees to say this is the best place I ever worked.
Gotcha. Well, that's great. And then from an operational standpoint, what would be the expected start date for the contract and the desired duration period?
Well, again, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but going back to that other question, it's a very good question. And I'm wondering what other answers have you had when you asked other people that question?
So I can't say that I've asked it a lot of times, but I think what we get from, and as we're building our organization, one of the things that we want people to say is that the organization worked with integrity, that they felt that they were respected, valued, and not just from a compensation standpoint, but from a values and ideas standpoint. One of the things that we like to do is hire entrepreneurs as employees with the idea that we're going to help you grow, but you're not going to be here forever. But you should take away a set of skills and tools that can either help you in life or help you in your next career or business opportunity. And so that's something that we think about, is that employees get both compensation, but growth from the organizations they work with. And how can we best provide those avenues for them as they're part of our team?
Well, I'm very impressed with your answer. And I have to say, because I very much like the idea that you're going to give the tools to the employees to move on to a different position, but feel that they're respected with integrity and they want to stay. I think to me, that's, like I say, it's hard to put your finger on it exactly, but your answer was spot on. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wade, do you want to try to take a stab at his second question?
Yeah, I don't know if we have a real timeline outlined exactly how long it's going to be, how many hours per month. That's when we looked at the breakdown of the proposal. We're saying, okay, well, is it really going to be 85 hours? And it may be 85 hours for the first couple of months of getting into the project, and then maybe less and less as it goes on. And I kind of see it probably happening that way, but you're the experts on that. So until we really get into it, I don't know if we really outlined exactly what that's going to look like.
Okay. I'll follow up to that response, Wade. We have a contract currently, it's not HR, but it's providing contract management support to an organization. And it started out with, this is an emergency contract. We need 24-hour support. And the expectation was, this is, what they call surge support. So we're expecting quick turnaround as soon as possible, excellent service to deliver, exactly what we need in this short period of time. And the expectation was over time, it would become less of a surge capacity and it'd be on an ongoing basis, hourly basis. And that has worked out really well. And so we are okay, and we understand how those arrangements work. And again, it's just one of those things where, as long as you're communicating back and forth, it's something where we're comfortable and we can manage the engagement accordingly.
I guess until we get the assessment complete, we don't really know how much we are going to need, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
It's going to be like building a house. When you first start, there's a whole bunch of things that happen in the beginning, and then you're working through it. Things kind of take a lull, and then you get the walls up, and now you have this big shoot of interiors that have to get done. And then right before you finish, you're just working 24 hours a day to get the punch list done. So, the ebbs and flows, we're more than ready to manage with you guys.
And having built several houses myself, the homeowner constantly makes changes.
Especially when you got 5 contractors.
Exactly.
To expect changes. So we got it.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. It looks like quite a body of work that you've created. So congratulations to you on that.
Well, thank you.
Thank
We really
you.
appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Have a great
Bye,
evening.
We're going to hold
You
you
too.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Wade, where is MMC located?
It was in Prince George County, Upper Marlboro.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, you guys ready for Dr. Bryant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, Dr. Bryan. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, how are you?
We're very good, thank you. You're joined by all 5 of the town commissioners. Myself, I'm Carrie Cook,
Okay.
Jeff Eck, Jim Brown, Ed Reed, and Martin Radigan, as well as our acting town manager, Wade Yost, and our town attorney, Jay Gullo. Thanks so much for joining us, and
Hello, everyone.
we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so I am going to share my screen. It's a very short presentation. Let's share. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I am going to go pretty fast with the first few slides. I want to thank you all for joining me and giving me an opportunity to present and or answer any questions you may have. So the agenda, I will cover this within the next less than 10 minutes. So I promise it's not gonna be long. I wanted to make sure that I communicate and introduce myself, and of course, Bryant and Bryant Consulting. So we'll go quickly on the agenda as you are looking at it. I don't even want to read it to you, but I will spend some time on our approach and also our process and the process I will cover. So as you can see here, we are in fact a human capital management consulting firm, meaning this is my other interpretation of HR. I live and breathe HR from the time I was an intern at Bristol Myers Squibb to now as a consultant. So I have not been anywhere else but HR. And of course, culture as part of what I do. I studied and so forth and so on. So our program is actually designed to meet the needs of diverse organizations, because I've been everywhere, not just nationally in the US, working for Fortune 500 companies, nonprofit, governmental, local, federal. So I have a pretty diverse approach when it comes to HR, and I try to speak everyone's language as a result. So this is myself and Dr. Jonetta. We've been working together for a long time. She also has a very long tenure in HR, and I'll wait to answer any questions you may have about ourselves. So one major thing that I want to point out, I have held and led many projects, including performance management redesign, organizational-wide change management, policies and procedures. I've written many handbooks as well from different states and or local organizations in my career and also as a consultant. So what I want to point out on this slide, in addition to our value prop, I want to focus on the practical and theoretical aspect of my experience, because I think it's very important. On the practical side, the experience causes me to make things happen in real life. And the theoretical part is really give me a deeper understanding of the why behind decisions. So these two together really is the reason why I feel, I am not only capable, Dr. Jonetta is as well, and we have the capacity and competence to make things happen at higher level, frontline level, and regardless of the individual we are working with to make an impact within Postville and the city and the team as well. So now, I said earlier, I will spend some time on our approach. And I want to talk about the tools, the reason why I presented these tools to you. These three tools, I believe, are applicable because when it comes to interviews and culture poll and observations, it gives you a holistic view and holistic approach on what you need in order to get the data, qualitative and quantitative data, to help leaders, to help people like you run your organization and all, of course, the city. So as a result, we have insight on not just the people or not just what people tells us or the operating aspect of it, the values that we will get and pull from you as leaders, and then see also from our interviews, from our observations, if in fact we are part of your team according to what I think the need is. We will couple that with communication and coordination, and in addition to what your vision and the skills and capabilities internally that we either have and need. So we will take all that in consideration. And the implication at the end is really create a quality mindset. Why is it quality? Why do I call it quality? Is because once you have a holistic view of HR, you are able to create what we call quality culture, which I will talk about in a few seconds. You are able to identify gaps in the culture, and you are able to assess current skills as well as the skill set that you will need. I also bring to this approach my culture experience, because I believe anytime you identify a need within an organization, within processes, you are embarking in some type of change management, because any process that is not tied to the entire culture will not be sustainable. So basically, our approach not only can be tailored to reflect the town of Port Vila, but it also gives you a holistic view of your operation, so you can create the longevity that will help you to sustain not just HR processes, policies, and be compliant, but also creating that environment, the quality environment and culture as well. Something happened here and I'm not able to. Okay, 1 second. I'm so sorry. Something happened with my, okay, here we go. So our process, establishing a winning partnership, because I see myself as part of the team, because I will be working side by side, I believe it is going to be a winning partnership. And I believe as we work together, as I learn from you as far as what your vision and your mission is for this strategy, we will work together in partnership, not just because I will bring the experience, a holistic experience, hands-on experience, not just as an HR leader, but as an HR at heart, but create a partnership where I don't look at this as that I'm a consultant. I am part of the team. So through assessment, we will be able to pull data that will help us to design solution that meets your need and deliver on what is it the goal is once we learn. I know we have a RFP. I know you have put on paper what your needs are, but that also is something that once we start the partnership, we will determine how far and what exactly I can do to better assist and deliver. As far as measure the result, I use an approach for qualitative and quantitative metrics that are very easy to identify, especially in the HR world, and I will bring that as well to our process. So this is where we want to get to. We want to get to a culture, a quality culture, where your people and your productivity and result out. And you take a look at all these aspects of your culture to create HR policies, HR processes that will not only sustain the organization, but we'll create a culture where, it's not just about compliance. It's about making things happen and creating alignment across the board. So quickly, why choosing us? In addition to myself and Dr. Joneda being part of the HR world for many organizations, public, nonprofit, and private, we have the skill and experience. We've done this at different levels. I have done it throughout my career. The life cycle of HR, I understand it very well. Through specific assessment and questioning, I am able to pull data that will not disrupt your organization, that will not disrupt or scare your employees, but that will open the door for them to participate in sharing views about the right processes that we need in HR. And integrity to us, and to me in particular, mean that I will deliver, I will always honor, and I will always communicate. And I definitely want to create solution that is holistic, not just HR. I was never comfortable being an HR partner. I am comfortable being part of operations, so I can create the HR policies that will support the operations eventually. So we are objective in assessing your challenges, your needs. No negativity from my part, because I understand the HR world so well. And I also understand operations. So therefore, there's always a level of understanding from both sides, and that create the trust that I need in order to help support not just leaders, but also Postville as well. And quite frankly, I take pride in creating policies and procedures and helping to bring organization goals and objectives to life. I speak the language. I love HR, and I love operations, and I love people. So I believe that, together this would be a great partnership. We, as far as deliverables concerned, I talked about that on our response. We will set up weekly or daily or every afternoon, for that matter, if the needs arise, to help keep the communication line open. Should any issue arise, whether or not it's at the end of the day or beginning in the day, if it's a quick email, if it's a quick text, I will always make myself available. If I have to take a drive quickly to help facilitate a meeting, or I'm not sure with COVID how the operation is running, but I am very, very flexible as far as my approach is concerned, just to make sure that the partnership and the communication is always open. And, I did say less than 10 minutes. I wanted to, again, thank you in advance for the consideration. I am open, and if you have any questions right now.
Thank you so much. That was certainly a lot of information that you packed into a short amount of time. Thanks for that. I'll open the floor. Does anyone want to ask some questions of Dr. Bryant?
Hi there, Jim Brown. I'm one of the commissioners. I have a question for you, and thank you for the presentation. I really appreciate it. It was great. What do you have any experience, municipal experience in Montgomery County? I don't have your resume here in front of me, so I'm just wondering.
In Montgomery County, no.
Or
Other counties,
right.
Yes, other counties, yes, but not in Montgomery County. I have done, since I responded, I have done some research, and my goal is to continue to do that because I believe in speaking the language of my clients. Even when I was working for organizations, if I don't know the information, I spend long hours studying and trying to understand what goes on. I understand your site to some extent. I understand the structure, unless what I'm finding online has changed, but the answer is no.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Bryant, how many folks will be available to us? I understand you'll be our point of contact.
Yes. So this is the great thing. I have Dr. Jonetta, who will be available for the duration. I work in partnership with my husband. He's a full-time staff on our team. And then I also have 2 admin folks that I reach out to help me. But I believe when it comes to HR and the less disruption that we have, the better. And I will make myself available full-time, and Dr. Jonetta as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else have any questions? Go ahead.
Yeah,
Martin.
you said that you didn't have any experience in Montgomery County, but and if I missed this in your presentation, I apologize. But do you have experience working with municipalities elsewhere? And if so, can you speak to those?
Yes. Right now, I am working in Levittown. There's some confidential work that we are doing as a company. I have supported Sage, Miss Sonia in many other work in different municipalities in other cities and state. But right now I have 2 of them that I'm working with, including the city of Philadelphia, the mayor office. So there are work that I am currently doing with DEI, change management, and also culture change management right here in Pennsylvania.
Great, thank you.
And most recently, I supported a work just in addition with Raleigh Durham Airport, again with DEI as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, thank you for coming, Dr. Bryant. Just my name's Ed Reed. Just question in terms of capacity.
Yes.
As your organization is growing and you have different sites that you guys are working at, how is that capacity and availability as you continue to grow? Your speed to respond and work on things, and if you get more contracts from different places, your capacity to bring on new staff in a way that we don't lose time if we were to need something.
So this is a great question, and I have a very large resource team that I graduated with from Regent universities, and I've worked with. I have Sage. I have Sage has a huge capacity. My husband also has about 20 1099 that he works with. I do not respond to IFPs that I don't plan on spending the full amount of time. Once this is approved and I am retained, I pull resources, and actually I don't even look at other work my husband does. We work in collaboration with each other. So my resources are pretty extensive, and because I have a heart for HR, and also I'll tell you why this was very of interest to me, and why I would be your full resource, and Dr. Joneda. And also, if I need other resource for other work, I will pull other people. I felt like this could use my expertise because I am primarily an HR professional. Again, coupled with being a consultant, but I'm an HR professional at heart. I started when I was at Bristol Myers Squibb, pulling resumes. That was, at the time, it was not automated. I was doing a lot of that, and I moved on to Crayola. I've moved on in my career and became a consultant because I saw a gap between operations and HR. And I always want that gap, to bridge that gap. And part of bridging the gap is to make myself available to earn trust from leaders and employees alike, to create that seamless and quality culture. So now all this to tell you, if in fact I'm retained for this role, I will give it this every sweat that I have, and resources will come from my husband and the vast pool that we've used in the past to have held or to have completed other projects.
Hey, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Wade, did you have anything else you wanted to add or share?
No, I think that's it right now. Everybody else good?
Thank you, Dr. Bryant.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bryant.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
appreciate the time, Carrie. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it as well.
Have a
Take
great
care
evening.
and have a good evening. All
Have a
right.
nice
Bye.
night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
So Wade, can you remind us what your recommendations were from last time?
Well, these are the top two candidates right here. And as I said in my write-up, came down to they both had good qualifications, certainly on paper, and when you hear them both in person, it's a little different. But it was a cost issue too. They won't you get your biggest bang for your buck as far as it want to go. So Bryant was the one that I had selected as the top choice for part of that reason.
And Wade, may I ask you, if just hearing what you heard, you personally, who would you choose at this point?
So when you go back and look at the hourly rates, they're not that far apart. It's more of the projected hours that were going to be used in anticipation of it. So they had only said they figured over a 12-month period, they'd be doing averaging 15 to 20 hours, I think, per month versus 85 hours per month. But the prices weren't that far as the hourly rate goes.
So B&B was 15 hours. Is that right? They were less hours. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And so certainly you're asking me, I think the professionalism and the better presentation was certainly MMC.
Okay.
So we could go back and ask for a best and final, see if we get the hours down, have it more precise as far as exactly what we expect and they expect out of us. Because I think there's a huge difference between 15 hours and 85 hours a month, obviously.
Any other thoughts on comparisons or?
Well, I would just like kind of Wade alluded to just there. I mean, I think we need to figure out what we're getting into here. Like if BB&T or Bryant and Bryant is saying, 15 hours a month, but MMT or whatever it was is saying however many hours a month, like when those are two really big different cost differences. We need to figure out I think what the real answer is, like how many hours we're really going to need a month, and would the more expensive company be willing to do what we need for those, for less hours? I mean,
well, we could certainly set it up as a not to exceed contract on a monthly basis or however it's going to be.
My only hesitation there is that I hate to have them say, well, we already met your goal for the month. Sorry.
My 2 cents were, I mean, I'm thinking that we're going to have require quite a bit of hours to get everything well organized. And then I think after that, there's be some steady state, which will require fewer hours. But I don't know how long it's going to take to get to the steady state, or how big this mountain is, or, you know, however this work requirement is going to take to get us to a steady state point. That I don't know. I don't think anybody knows it at the moment. I'll just add my opinion because it's probably obvious anyway, but I did think that the presentation and the depth of the folks from the MMC company were a little bit more thorough and answered a lot of questions in the right way. Anyhow, so that's how I feel. They are pretty close, and on paper, you know, when I read that stuff, I would probably say Bryant was had a slight edge, but in the presentation, I think MMC to me was I felt more comfortable with their level of understanding of what we need, and that's at the moment it's very, very superficial for both of them. But that's kind of my 2 cents on the matter. I felt that MMC really did a good job in their discussion and their presentation.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that what I would really be interested in is just hearing reference checks on how they performed with the different companies, the different organizations they've worked with. Because I think it's one thing to come in, you know, I think if you're a good presenter, you can come in, and the more polished you are, you can present well. But then I think the other piece is just really looking at those reference checks in terms of what kind of information we can get back to see how well they've performed.
Wait, didn't you already do reference checks? Didn't they both get rave reviews?
I did on Bryant. I did not check the references on MMC yet.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. I agree with that. I'd love to hear what you hear back about them.
Yeah, but Bryant did have good returns as far as references go.
Yeah, there's no question that she's extremely passionate about her job, about human resources. In my mind, at least.
No, I agree. She got in. There were some things I liked about what she had to say, and you could see that passion for the work come out in her presentation. So it's kind of like, and then I think the other one, the first group, very business oriented. It's I didn't hear the same level of passion, but I just saw a well ran presentation.
Yep.
So those reference checks, because once you get past the show, I really like to see what does the day-to-day grind look like, and then I'm in a better position to make a decision.
So do we want to wait to hear back from Wade on reference checks? Maybe Wade, you could, if you wouldn't mind, would you mind putting those in an email to us, like both the reference checks, like, or, you know, just what you learned, and any other thoughts you have, like, you know, things that we should ask. I'm stuck on this whole thing about, you know, why their prices are so far apart, and how we can get those closer together and figure out, like, you know, we're not going to exceed minimums and all that stuff.
Well, a lot of that largely depends on what we task them with and how that grows. And that's
right.
You know, and maybe MMC has a better vision of what's going to happen, you know, because it's if we keep it small, then the price is going to be smaller. But if it gets into encompassing a whole bunch of different things, and let's do this and this and this, which can happen, then the price is going to go way out of sight. So,
yeah.
Well, the things that the gentleman, or the lady said regarding, let's find my notes here real quick. Reviewing the current handbook and filling gaps, right? We don't know how big or small that is. I suspect it's bigger than it is smaller. And reviewing the compensation plans and comparing them with similar municipalities. Those things seem like a priority to me. And again, I don't know if they're as big as a bread box or as big as a house. I just don't know.
Did you have something, Jay? So is it clear where to go from here, Wade? It sounds like maybe two things. One is some kind of cost differential, like a kind of honing in more on the difference between them.
Yep.
And then the second is if we could see a comparison, excuse me, of references.
Yep. Have that put a little package together and get it out to you guys.
You know, the main thing I'd be interested in would be the a la carte fees, because I think that's what's going to happen is we're going to figure out that maybe it's not as bad as we think it is, or whatever we have to do. I think it's more important for us to know apples to apples what the a la carte fees are between the two companies, because I just don't see us needing a monthly approach to HR. I think once we get whatever our situations are, once we get them in better condition, and I don't think they're in that bad a condition right now, but once we get them in better condition, then this is going to be a little bit on cruise control. Things don't change that quickly here.
And that's what I was kind of calling steady state. So I see this bump to get things straightened out or whatever, up to date. Let's say it up to date. And then I think the steady state could very well be minimal.
Yeah, it's more about being modernized. And Jay, I know you don't have the mic on right now, but how are we compared to, the rest of these guys? Are we really that far off?
You really are not up to snuff where you need to be. I mean, your HR manual just isn't there, and that's why we find ourselves lacking. But that is a small process considering the fact that it's stock stuff. So once it's there, then it'll be easy to apply that after you get some guidance. So I think it's all front end loaded type of stuff.
Okay.
Do you think it's fair to ask these two candidates whether if they can give us something that's a sample HR manual that they've put together for anything that resembles anything close to our organization? Is that off the mark to ask them to get that? Because I think that's the big ask for these guys when it comes down to it.
I think that's what they're going to want to sell us. And I don't know that they're going to want to give it to us without being engaged, because that's their big thing that they're going to do.
Not one for us, but one that they've done for somebody else.
Right. I mean, the one interviewee said she wrote the one for that one town that was on her reference. So we could go there and find that and see what they did. And maybe even find the old one from what it was to what it was. So that's one way to check it out.
I think somebody has their YouTube on.
Those are great. I would like to.
That's Jay. All right, it's all good. But I agree. So I think that once we kind of get up and running, then we can level off. But I definitely think that there's some upgrades that we can make. And then once those are done, it will kind of level off.
Yep, I think so as well.
All right, so I guess we'll wait to hear from Wade. And
Okay.
then maybe
I
Put it
think the one
together
maybe the one element of data that we don't have at the moment, Wade, are the reference checks from the MMC company.
Yep.
And maybe, Wade, if you could ask them, do they have some samples of work that they've done so that we can see what the quality of their work looks like?
Okay.
And it doesn't hurt to ask, do they have a sample of handbooks that they've written?
Right.
You know?
Okay. Got it.
Excellent.
and I'd love to see us make a decision at the next meeting.
Yes, definitely. I agree.
Get this thing moving. Yeah, one other thing you might do, Wade, if you think of it, if you agree, is ask them what kind of hours they think will go into what we're about to ask them to do for hiring a new town manager. In other words, reference checks, any background checks, calling the candidates, all that stuff. Like, I'd be curious if one says 100 hours and one says 20 hours or something like that. That would be interesting.
Yeah, well, hopefully our next item here, we can figure out exactly what that's going to look like.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, wait, I did notice on the first presentation where it said the rates didn't include background checks. Did Brian and Bryant, did their rates include background checks?
They didn't speak to it, if it did or didn't.
So that might be a question also.
Yeah.
If that was something we needed, what would be the extra cost for that?
Gotcha.
And then asking and then with the other company, the first one, you know, I don't know, I can't remember if they gave us a rate for background checks or not.
I don't either. I'll have to check that, but I'll get that answer for you.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
So our second item tonight is the town manager selection process. And I know you gave us a report.
Oh. Hang on a second. Okay.
I want to say up front, I want to say up front that I'm perfectly happy with what Wade submitted as a working document.
I agree. I'm pretty happy with it.
Stop it.
We agree, Wade.
I know.
Yeah, I liked it also, Wade. I looked at it when you first sent it out. I thought it
And I
was
know Jay
clear
was in on
and
it too,
direct.
so thank you too, Jay.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Okay, well,
You
that
want
was
to
easy.
go over the finer points though, real quickly?
Sure, let me pull it up right here.
I don't think we need to belabor it, but
No, so basically we just put it together so to make it a nice, even fair process with exact parameters for each person or each group to follow. So basically, once we pick the whole committee, and you know, we have some volunteers tonight that we appointed, we're trying to make sure that there's no influence from commissioners or any outside sources. So we're trying to maintain that confidentiality of how the process is going with the HR or with the volunteers. The selection committee will evaluate, score each applicant using some sort of a scoring assessment matrix based on position requirements. So we have a job description already. We can get that, and I think that the committee can actually put together a nice matrix for us all to look at. And then once the committee meets, scores, gets that field of applicants down to a reasonable number, rank them all, and then they come to the commissioners and present that along with the methodology that they used and give recommendations. And then the commissioners from that point, and actually there'll be some staff members on there, probably Bobby, Jay, and myself, to go through the applications with them. And then the commissioners will then meet in a closed session, discuss the candidates, the finals, and determine how many candidates they want to interview. And then from that point on, you know, we can narrow the field down smaller. We can have, depending on the cost and how much we want to spend and how many applicants we have, are we going to go ahead and do background checks, reference checks will be happening already. And actually one of the candidates or one of the volunteers tonight said they were, you know, happy to do that. So that's a great one. And then once we get it down to the very end, the commissioners take their final vote and choose a town manager.
Great.
make it sound so easy.
Yeah.
Wait, I must have missed something, or I must have missed an email where you had that written up. What, can you resend it to me or tell me what date and time it
Sure,
was,
sure.
please?
I will send it to you. Yes.
Okay, swell. That's the easiest for me. Thank you.
Hey, Wade, I would say I did like Eddie Coleman's, whoops, maybe I'm not supposed to say, I like the suggestion that was shared with us by someone about the numbering of the applicants versus the name.
That was a good point.
I
Absolutely.
thought that would be nice just to, because that's how I do some also. We just put the number of the person's number, like 1, 2, 3. I do that when I do scholarship. Anyway, stuff I do around the work of scholarship committees is we take the person's name off of it and then just go by what's the information that we have and just code it by numbers.
Yep.
Is it possible just to even to share the screen that has that process so that those who are watching on YouTube who can't see what we're talking about can see that process? So if they want to watch this YouTube video and pause it and see it for themselves.
Can you guys see that?
Yes. Yep. It's kind of small though.
Can you make this, can you zoom in on your screen a little bit?
Let me try. Move you guys out of the way.
At the bottom, go to the bottom corner.
I know how to get Martin's head was in my way.
Sometimes you can bring the percentage up.
Yeah, right there.
There you go.
Keep going. Go back a little bit. That's good. That's all of the points. Okay, that way anyone who's watching, they could go back and pause it at this point and take a look at it.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you, Wade.
Can I follow up with what Ed just said about the coding with the numbers? Are you talking about removing the names or just adding the numbers, like making them blind?
I was thinking if you remove the names, that way you take any perceived bias out for anyone. You never know who might be on the committee, who might have a good friend who applied, and so if we just really say, okay, person 1, person 2, person 3, so forth, and then you just use a number system.
Yep, we kick that around, so we can do that.
If we do have a friend that applies, do we have to recuse ourselves from the selection?
No, you have to declare it. Well, depending on how we get to that point, but yes. Okay. A friend, a family member, will have to get into the details of what that would be.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that 5-member committee, that's something that they could talk about too. So they could discuss that. This is part of their background.
Maybe that's a question for our ethics committee.
I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the rules are pretty straightforward when they're working for the town. Is the fact that if they have any type of financial or family involvement, if they just know the person or friendly with the person, that doesn't really.
Yeah, that's different.
Because you all should know everyone in a small town, and your friends are not with that. So
right.
That's why doing the blind numbering thing takes that out of it.
Right. So if my niece was to apply or had applied,
right,
just remove it.
Right. And then if that takes that out for that group, and when you guys will see all of the names, and I would imagine, because you'll know at that point in time, if anything gets to the point where it's a problem, then we can deal with it. The ethics commission.
I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't realize that's what. I'm really glad you brought that up. I didn't realize that's what Ed was suggesting.
Yeah, it just takes out the bias and unfair advantage.
Yep. Good. All right.
Okay, we're good on that. Okay.
So I think you have direction from us, and I think we have a plan. Excellent. Unless there's anything else to discuss.
Do we need to come up with were we going to come up with the timeline for them, or were they going to come up with the timeline? Or are we just going with the timeline that Wade put in the?
I think he suggested a 2-week timeline.
I saw 2 weeks.
Yeah, no more than 2 weeks.
All right, sounds great. Do we have a time in there for commissioners to like I'm thinking, so that Wade, talk to me a little bit about that 2 weeks. What happens within those 2 weeks?
So first thing we're gonna do is have our first meeting and just kind of outline what we want to do and make our own schedule up right then, our own timelines, because that's gonna go by individuals' schedules, availabilities, all that kind of stuff. So do that and develop our matrix systems, or talk about how we're gonna do the matrix system. I have to get them, certainly get all the resumes to them. I have to get the job description stuff to them. So everybody can just kind of digest that and be ready for that first meeting. I mean, I thought the first meeting is going to be kind of like the crux of lining everything up for how we're going to do it.
So what I would anticipate then, once that happens, then there would be another timeline, because I'm just thinking from creation to implementation to resolution. So we create the team, then you guys take the ball and run with it. You guys will probably discuss what the timeline would look like so hey, like for example, at such and such time frame, we should be able to start doing these interviews, and we should have a goal to hire a town manager by such and such time.
Absolutely. Once we have that presentation date, that's going to right there. Okay, we're going to see your availability and say, these are when the interviews are going to be, and then line it up right then. So,
okay.
So we will know this as soon as the committee meets the first time.
Right.
I'll be able to come back to you and we can start setting up the second phase.
Yeah, and if you help facilitate that movement, picking timelines, some dates, help facilitate moving folks to agree on those time structures. So then that way the residents of the town can have a fair time to anticipate hiring a new town manager.
Absolutely.
Well, it'll also be good for us to get the dates on the calendar as
Yes.
quickly as we can.
Yeah, Jeff, if you're saying something, you're muted. Jeff, were you talking to us? Your mic is muted.
Yeah, thanks. Wade, I have a quick question. So you mentioned a couple times when we had the citizen interviews that there will be some town staff participating in the citizen group. Do you know who that will be?
So we're looking at Jay, myself, and Bobby at this time. That's what we recommended.
Okay, swell. Well, yeah, thank you.
But I didn't anticipate, at least for me, that I would be doing any rating or participating like a normal member. I would be more of an advisory member to keep everybody straight.
Perfect. Right.
Yeah. Observe and advise, right?
All right, unless there's anything else, I think we've done our due diligence tonight. Thank you so much for all your work on this.
Yes, thank you very much, Wade. Greatly
Yep.
appreciated.
Great job, Wade.
Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
That's second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, guys.